Maria still remembered the sound of rain hitting the thin metal roof of the tiny apartment where she and her husband Daniel had spent the first years of their marriage. It wasn't the kind of place anyone dreamed of living in forever. The walls were cracked, the kitchen was small enough that only one person could stand inside comfortably, and every winter cold air slipped through the windows as if the house itself had given up fighting against hardship. Yet Maria loved that place because it held the memories of promises, laughter, and dreams. On nights when they had little money, they would sit together by the window sharing one cup of coffee because they could not afford two, laughing and telling each other that one day they would own a beautiful house with a garden filled with roses. Daniel used to hold her hands and say, "I don't care if we stay poor forever. As long as I have you, I have everything." Maria had believed every word. She had believed it with all her heart. Years passed, and reality slowly began changing Daniel. At first, it was small things. He started complaining more often after work. He would compare himself with successful people from his company. He began returning home with frustration written all over his face. Maria noticed his smile becoming rare, his patience becoming thinner. Still, she stood beside him through every difficulty. When Daniel lost his job during difficult financial times, Maria worked extra shifts cleaning offices, serving food, and helping elderly people so they could survive. She woke before sunrise and returned home exhausted late at night, but she never complained because she believed that marriage meant standing together in both good and bad times. Months later Daniel finally found another job, but something had changed inside him. His new workplace introduced him to people with expensive clothes, luxury cars, and lives that looked perfect from the outside. Soon he started caring about appearances more than love. He began looking at Maria differently. Instead of seeing the woman who had carried him through hardship, he saw only the tired clothes she wore after long hours of work and the simple life they still had. One evening Maria prepared dinner with the little money they had left. She carefully arranged the food on the table, hoping Daniel would smile because it was his favorite meal. She heard the apartment door open and greeted him warmly. "You're home." Daniel looked around silently. Maria smiled nervously. "I know it isn't much, but I made your favorite." Daniel loosened his tie and sat down without expression. For a few moments there was silence. Then he said something that made Maria's heart stop. "Is this all?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "This life," he replied coldly. "This tiny apartment. These cheap meals. These old furniture pieces. Is this all our lives are going to be?" Maria stared at him. "We've been trying," she said softly. "We?" Daniel laughed bitterly. "Trying?" "Maria, we're drowning." She felt pain rise in her chest. "We'll get through this together." Daniel suddenly stood. "No. You don't understand." Maria looked at him with confused eyes. Then came the words that shattered everything. "I'm tired of being poor." The room became silent. Maria looked at the man standing in front of her and barely recognized him. "I'm tired of struggling every day. I'm tired of pretending love is enough." Her voice trembled. "So what are you saying?" Daniel looked directly into her eyes. "I'm leaving." For several seconds Maria thought she had heard him wrong. "What?" "I'm leaving you." The plate slipped from her hand and crashed onto the floor. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. Daniel looked away. "I met people who showed me what life could be. I deserve more." Maria felt as if the world had disappeared beneath her feet. "More," she whispered. Daniel picked up his suitcase. "You deserve someone richer than," she asked, her voice shaking. He remained silent. That silence hurt more than words. Tears rolled down Maria's face. "After everything?" she asked. "After all these years? After every sacrifice?" Daniel sighed impatiently. "You wouldn't understand." Maria stared at him in disbelief. She remembered every extra shift she worked, every night she stayed awake worried about bills, every meal she skipped so Daniel could eat more. "You said we'd stay together forever." Daniel avoided her eyes. People change. And with those words he walked toward the door. Maria ran after him. Daniel, please. He stopped without turning around. For one tiny moment she hoped he would come back. But he didn't. The door closed. And with it, the life Maria thought she had forever disappeared. She slowly fell to her knees on the cold floor. The apartment suddenly felt empty. The silence felt unbearable. Outside, the rain continued falling. Maria cried harder than she had ever cried before. She cried until her eyes burned. She cried until she had no strength left. But she had no idea that life was preparing something extraordinary ahead. Because sometimes when life closes one door with pain, another opens carrying something unimaginable. And Daniel was about to discover that abandoning Maria would become the biggest mistake of his entire life. To be continued. If you're enjoying this story and want more powerful emotional stories full of twists, betrayal, and unforgettable endings, subscribe and stay with us for the next chapter.